Namaste. My name is Janapati Das. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Please accept my respects, everyone. Let me offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagat Guru Siddhaswarapananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, and unto the lotus feet of my spiritual grandfather, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are going to continue with chapter 2 of first canto. So we're going to start with some hearing and chanting of Krishna's names. So please join along. Haribo Namos Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pashtayate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, welcome back again to the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are reading for the first canto, first part, entitled Creation. We have been reading the chapter entitled Divinity and Divine Service. And one was learning about the modes of material nature and how it is best to receive information through the Vedas. We are starting at chapter 2, first canto, chapter 2, text 25. Bejire munayo tagare bhagavatam adhokshajam satavam vishuddham kishem maya kalpanteye nutaniha. Bejire rendered service unto munayaha, the sages. Ata, thus, agare, previously, bhagavatam, unto the personality of Godhead. Adhokshajam, the transcendence. Sattvam, existence. Vishuddham, above the three modes of nature. Kashemaya, derive the ultimate benefit. Kalpante, deserve. Ye, those. Anu, follow. Tan, those. Iha, in this material world. Translation, text 25. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derived the ultimate benefit. There's a similar verse in the Bhagavad Gita. But many people have rendered service and attained transcendence. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derived the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Sorry, tongue twisted today. Purport: the purpose of performing religion is neither to profit by material gain nor to get the simple knowledge of discerning matter from spirit. The ultimate aim of religious performances is to release oneself from material bondage and regain the life of freedom in the transcendental world where the personality of Godhead is the supreme person. So our activity of rendering loving service, our action is an inherent activity of the spirit soul. So it's not enough to perform religion to enjoy better life or to go on and live a better life in a heavenly planet, or for the matter of knowing the difference between your spirit and the spirit and matter. That is part of the Shankar Yoga philosophy, discerning matter from spirit, but also it continues to be also who is the controller of both. Understanding who is the controller of the matter and the spirit, matter and spirit, one renders service to the the supreme personality of Godhead, who is the owner and controller of all things animate and inanimate, both in the material world and the spiritual world. So the ultimate aim of religious performance is to release yourself from material bondage and regain the life of freedom in the transcendental world. So in releasing yourself from that spirit, the nirvana, blowing out of the material desires, thus begins the activity of pure devotional service, or Brahma Bhutam. So this is what Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying. Laws of religion, therefore, are directly enacted by the personality of Godhead, except for the Mahajanas, or the authorized agents of the Lord. No one knows the purpose of religion. There are 12 particular agents of the Lord who know the purpose of religion, and all of them render transcendental service unto him. Persons who desire their own good may follow these Mahajanas and thus attain the supreme benefit. Text 26. Mumukshava Gora Rupam Hitva Bhuta Patinata Narayana Skalas Shanta Bhajanti Hriyanashuyavan Mumukshavaha. Persons desiring liberation. Gora, horribly ghastly. Rupam, forms of like that. Hitva, rejecting. Bhuta patin, demigods. Ata, for this reason. Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Kala, plenary portions. Shanta, all blissful. Bhajanti, do worship. He, certainly. Anushayava, non-envious. Translation, text 26. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. It's a very interesting verse because people who want material enjoyment in this world are generally envious, and ultimately this enviousness is an indirect relation to being envious of God. And one who is envious of God because they want to be the Supreme Personality of God, or they want to be the enjoyer, they cannot understand the transcendental knowledge. It's like in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. Krishna said, because you are not envious of me, I can impart unto you this transcendental knowledge, which will bring great bliss to you. And so people who worship demigods, they are envious of different people and ultimately of Krishna, because they feel like they should have more things. Maybe they see their neighbors and their neighbors have the nice car, or they have the nice husband and nice children, and your children are really bad, or you don't have a husband, or your husband is ugly and whatever, and so you're envious and you always want more and better than what you have. Sort of like the grass is always greener saying. The grass is not always greener on the other side. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is the original person of the Vishnu categories, expands himself into two different categories, namely integrated plenary portions and separated parts and parcels. The separated parts and parcels are the servitors, and the integrated plenary portions of Vishnu Tattva are the worshipful objects of service. All demigods who are empowered by the Supreme Lord are also separated part and parcels. They do not belong to the categories of Vishnu Tattva. The Vishnu Tattvas are living beings equally as powerful as the original form of the personality of Godhead. And they display different categories of power in consideration of different times and circumstances. The separated parts and parcels are powerful by The separated parts and parcels are powerful by limitation. They do not have unlimited power like the Vishnu Tattvas. Therefore, one should never classify the Vishnu Tattvas or the plenary portions of Narayan, the personality of Godhead, in the same categories with the parts and parcels. If anyone does he becomes at once an offender by the name Pashandi. In the age of Kali, many foolish persons commit such unlawful offenses and equalize the two categories. So all the time I'm seeing these situations where you have people who are passing themselves off as reincarnations of God, or they're God's servants. Even there's this guy in Africa, and he's got apparently a million followers in Africa, and he is Jesus Christ. He's saying he's Jesus Christ as the second coming of Jesus Christ, and his followers believe he's Jesus Christ. But sooner or later, these rascals, because they're offenders, they fall down. You find it comes out they were sexually abusing their followers. They were sleeping with their followers' wives or women or children. They were embezzling money. They were being abusive to people, all kinds of things, stealing money. Because when you believe you're God, or you're a great devotee of God, you feel like you're justified to be able to enjoy materially. It's just Maya Devi's massive trap. So there are many foolish people who kind of put themselves on the same category as Vishnu Tattvas, but here Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying, no, it is not. The separated parts and parcels of different positions in the estimation of material powers, and some of them are like Kala Bhairava, Shamshana Bhairava, Shani, Malakali, and Chandika. These demigods are worshipped mostly by those who are in the lowest categories of mode of darkness or ignorance. Very interesting. Demigods in the mode of ignorance, right? Other gods like Brahma, Shiva, Shura, Ganesh, and many similar deities are worshipped by men in the mode of passion, urged on by the desire for material enjoyment. But those who are actually situated in the modes of goodness, sattva guna, of material nature, worship only Vishnu Tattvas. Vishnu Tattvas are represented by various names and forms such as Narayan, Damodar, Vamana, Govinda, and Adhokshaja. The qualified Brahmanas worship the Vishnu Tattvas represented by the Shalagrama, Shila, and some of the higher castes like the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas also generally worship the Vishnu Tattvas. Highly qualified Brahmanas situated in the mode of goodness have no grudges against the mode of worship of others. They have all respect for other demigods, even though they may look ghastly, like Kala Bhairava or Mahakali. The Kali, goddess Kali. The mode of darkness. So people in the mode of ignorance, so, that's their service. They have to be demigods and goddesses for people in very low consciousness to help these people very gradually make an elevation in their worship. But, they're ghastly. They're horrible. They're blood drinkers and whatever. They're for the most degraded people. But we offer respects because they are servants of Krishna. We just don't follow them as Vishnu Tattvas. They know very well that these horrible features of the Supreme Lord are all different servitors of the Lord under different conditions. Yet they reject the worship of both horrible and attractive features of the demigods, and they concentrate only on the forms of Vishnu because they are serious about liberation from the material conditions. The demigods, even to the stage of Brahma, the supreme of all demigods, that cannot offer liberation to anyone. Hiranyakashipu underwent severe type of penance to become eternal in life, but his worshipful deity Brahma could not satisfy him with such a blessing. He gave him everything else materially that Hiranyakashipu could think of, but when he was asking to be eternal and invincible, in the sense that he's eternal and cannot be killed, Brahma could not do that. Therefore, Vishnu and none else is called Mukti Pada, or the personality of Godhead who can bestow upon us mukti, liberation. The demigods, being like other living entities in the material world, are all liquidated at the time of the annihilation of the material structure. So the demigods, even though they have a very long form of life, they are very powerful indeed, and more powerful than humans. They too are subject to the material modes of nature. They are themselves unable to get liberation, and what to speak of giving liberation to their devotees. The demigods can award the worshippers some temporary benefit only, and not the ultimate one. So even then, when the sacrifices and whatnot are given to the demigods have to offer it to Krishna or to Narayan or Vishnu as the ultimate benefactor of all things. So the demigods are limited because they are material. And we know the story of Govardhan Hill. The residents of Vrindavan were going to offer their sacrifices to Indra, the king of heaven. And Indra, Krishna decided to make a point, and Indra, of course, being puffed up, could not see or understand Krishna and created offenses. It is for this reason only that candidates for liberation deliberately reject the worship of the demigods, although they have no disrespect for any one of them. Text 27. Rajastama prakrityaya samashila bhajanti vai pita bhuta prajesh shadin shriya ishvaraya prajesh prapiche shabaha. Raja, the mode of passion. Tama, the mode of ignorance. Prakritaya, of that mentality. Shama Shila, of the same categories. Bhajanti, do worship. Vai, actually. Prita, the forefathers. Bhuta, other living entities. Prajesh Adin, controllers of cosmic administration. Shriya, enrichment. Ashvarya, wealth and power. Praja, progeny. Ipshavaha, so desiring. Text 27, translation. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. So yeah, there are many societies, Chinese, Japanese, and a lot of different cultures around the world that worship their ancestors. They worship the animistic societies of Native Americans and Africans, the traditional Africans, or I should say the, what's the word, animistic Africans, maybe not so much the Muslim or Christian Africans, but yeah, they worship their forefathers, they worship their ancestors, they pray and they offer sacrifices and little goods at altars for their forefathers, and that was part of the Vedic society too. But it was originally done to help those people in modes of passion and ignorance. And I remember this also, seeing, everybody thinks when they think of Hinduism, and Hinduism is just a general religion, but it's actually a very large blanket covering many, many, many different paths of what's called Hinduism. Or we don't really call ourselves Hindus, because even though we're under that blanket, because the Hindu is a title that came from the Persian Empire when they crossed over and saw people near the Indus River, so they called them Hindus, or Indus, I think it was, and so they eventually became Hindus. But that Hindus, there's so many different kinds of paths of Hinduism. But when I used to go to the temple with my godbrother and we would chant there, we were invited to go to chant because we were trying to chant Krishna's names. Not a lot of people were very interested in the chanting, but there was a lot of people coming to offer sacrifices and offerings to the different deities of Ramachandra, who is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead also, but he's a Vishnu Tattva, part and parcel of Krishna, and expansion of Krishna. And there was statues of Durga and Shiva and other demigods, Ganesh, and so there's all these demigods, and people are coming to them and they're praying to their particular demigod. There are a lot of Hindus that were going in this temple, but they weren't coming to hear the names of Krishna. They would be like, oh, Krishna, we know Krishna. Krishna is another demigod. He's an incarnation of Vishnu, blah, 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 blah. There is no need to worship demigods of whatsoever category if one is serious about going back to Godhead. Yeah, because demigods are not going to be able to facilitate your going back to Krishna. Only Krishna can do that. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 20 and 23, it is clearly said that those who are mad after material enjoyment approach the different demigods for temporary benefits, which are meant for men with a poor fund of knowledge. And Bhaktivedanta loves to say that, like this poor gathering of knowledge. Sometimes people have a large amount of knowledge in material knowledge. They may be scientists or doctors or philosophers or whatnot, and they've gathered a lot of information. They've read a lot of manuals and books, and they've written articles. But they actually have a poor fund of knowledge because they have no understanding of the reality of things. In other words, they do not understand Krishna. We should never desire to increase the depth of material enjoyment. So people have maybe a lot of understanding and knowledge about the particular demigods and how to please those demigods, but they have very little knowledge of Krishna. So here Bhaktivedanta is saying we should never desire to increase the depth of material enjoyment, which is what these people are doing. It's just a sort of a cloaked religiosity. You worship, you say you're religious, and you do your religious activity so that you can enjoy more. But one should not be using religion for that. As it says back here, in the previous verse, the ultimate aim of religious performance is to release oneself from the material bondage and regain the life of freedom in the transcendental world, where the personality of Godhead is a supreme person. So using your time and your effort to worship demigods for material enjoyment is a gross waste of time and energy. And so that is why they have a poor fund of knowledge, where they may appear to be very knowledgeable about all these things, but they actually really don't know anything. Material enjoyment should be accepted only up to the point of the bare necessities of life, and not more or less than that. So it's not like we're complete beggars. We have things to maintain our life and keep our soul and body together, as they would say. Keep things together. We should never desire to increase. To accept more material enjoyment means to bind oneself more and more to the miseries of material existence. Yes, as it's already said, and we know, the more you do, the more you're bound into the samsara wheel of birth and death, of karmic reaction, action and reaction. More wealth, more women, and false aristocracy are some of the demands of the materially disposed man, because he has no information of the benefit derived from Vishnu worship. By Vishnu worship, one can derive benefit in this life as well as in life after death. Forgetting these principles, foolish people who are after more wealth, more wives, more children worship various demigods. The aim of life is to end the miseries of life and not to increase them. So this is the foolishness, is that somehow thinking the game, he with the most toys wins kind of idea. It's not to say that you can't have material wealth, but it's how you use that material wealth and what kind of consciousness you use it in. If you're using it in Krishna's service, it's a great boon. It's great. It's all those zeros with Krishna at the end, which is the one. So you have a lot of potential to serve Krishna materially in this world. Whereas it doesn't matter if you don't have Krishna, it's just a bunch of zeros. Whereas you could have more value with the few things that you have if you have Krishna in your life. The Krishna alone is the greatest value, not the things that you have. For material enjoyment, there is no need to approach the demigods. The demigods are but servants of the Lord. So Krishna made this point very clear in the story of Govardhan Hill. As such, they are duty-bound to supply necessities of life in the form of water, light, air, etc. One should work hard and worship the Supreme Lord by the fruits of one's hard labor for existence. And that should be the motto of life. One should be careful to execute occupational duty with faith in God in the proper way, and that will lead one gradually on the progressive march back to Godhead. Lord Sri Krishna, when he was personally present at Rajadhama, stopped the worship of the demigod Indra and advised the residents of Raja to worship by their business and to have faith in God. Worshipping the multi-demigods for material gain is practically a perversity of religion. Right? So that's a really great point. Worshipping the multi-demigods for material gain is practically a perversity of religion. It's a perverse use of religion. Because religion is to come to know Krishna, to know God, and know your relationship with God. But if you're using things to basically further submerge you into the material world where you're forgetting God, then it's a perversity of actual religion. And you see this a lot, which is to the credit of atheists, the reason why they're like, look at all these religious people. They're preaching the prosperity gospel, or they're just living a lush life, and when people are starving and saying, and then making them saying they're doing it for God. Lord Sri Krishna, when he was personally present at Vrajadama, stopped the worship of demigod Indra and advised the residents of Vraja to worship by their business and to have faith in God. Worshipping the multi-demigods for material gain is practically a perversity of religion. This sort of religious activity has been condemned in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam as Kaitava Dharma. There is only one religion in the world to be followed by one and all, and that is the Bhagavat Dharma, or the religion which teaches one to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and no one else. So it's pretty amazing. It's an amazing statement. There's really only one religion, and the one religion is to worship God and not worship anyone else. So a lot of times there is, for example, in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt have no other gods before me. People have interpreted that Jehovah is the only God that he should worship, and not other so-called names of God. But we know that God has many names, and he's appeared to different people in different names, and the relationship that they have with God entails sometimes in the name of that name of God, right? Jehovah, Allah, Yahweh, or what it might be, Krishna, Gopala, Vishnu. But here Bhaktivedanta is saying that Bhagavat Dharma, the religion of God, to know, come and know and love God, which is taught by Lord Jesus Christ, but and many, many other great saints, taught in different ways, taught by Muhammad, but taught in a different kind of way for people of lower consciousness. So maybe the Bhagavata Dharma is a little bit more mixed with modes of passion and ignorance. But it is concluding that one should surrender to Allah, right, which is the name of God. So Bhagavat Dharma is a universal religion, quote unquote religion. But what's interesting is that in this Sanskrit, Samashila Bhajanti Vai, which is translated as of the same categories. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, no, never mind. That was a different verse. Okay, so text 28 and 29. Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makaha, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriya, Vasudeva Deva param Ganam, Vasudeva param Tapaha, Vasudeva paro Damo, Vasudeva para Gati, Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Para, the ultimate goal. Veda, revealed scriptures. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, for worshipping. Makaha, sacrifices. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Para, the means of attaining. Yoga, mystic paraphernalia. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Para, under his control. Kriya, fruit of activities. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Param, the supreme. Gananam, knowledge. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Param, best. Tapa, austerity. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, superior quality. Dharma, religion. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, ultimate. Gati, the goal of life. Translation 28 and 29. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifices is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life. So that's a pretty straightforward verse. It's a great verse. It was everything that we've been reading about in all the scriptures we've been reading. Krishna is the ultimate object of knowledge. He is the supreme goal of life. Purport that Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship, is confirmed in these two shlokas. In the Vedic literature, there is the same objective, establishing one's relationship and ultimately reviving our lost, loving service unto Him. That is the sum and substance of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita, the same theory is confirmed by the Lord in His own words. The ultimate purpose of the Vedas is to know Him only. All the revealed scriptures are prepared by the Lord through His incarnation in the body of Srila Vyasadeva just to remind the fallen souls conditioned by material nature of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. No demigod can award freedom from material bondage. That is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. Impersonalists who have no information of the personality of Godhead minimize the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord and put Him on equal footing with all other living beings. For this act, such impersonalists get freedom from material bondage only with great difficulty. They can surrender unto Him only after many, many births in the culture of transcendental knowledge. One may argue that the Vedic activities are based on sacrificial ceremonies. That is true. But all such sacrifices are also meant for realizing the truth about Vasudeva. Another name of Vasudeva is Yajna, sacrifice. So Yajna, means sacrifice, and the name of Krishna is Yajna with a capital Y, because Krishna is the source of all sacrifices, ultimately. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that all sacrifices and all activities are to be conducted for the satisfaction of Yajna, or Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. This is the case only with the yoga systems. Yoga means to get in touch with the Supreme Lord. The process, however, includes several bodily features such as asana, dhyana, and pranayama, and meditation, and all of them are meant for concentrating upon the localized aspect of Vasudeva, represented as Paramama. Paramama realization is but partial realization of Vasudeva, and if one is successful in that attempt, one realizes Vasudeva in full. But by ill luck, most yogis are stranded by the power of mysticism achieved through the bodily process. Ill-fated yogis are given a chance in the next birth by being placed in the families of good learned brahmanas or in the families of rich merchants in order to execute the unfinished task of Vasudeva realization. If such fortunate brahmanas and sons of rich men properly utilize the chance, they can easily realize Vasudeva by good association with saintly persons. Unfortunately, such preferred persons are captivated again by material wealth and honor, and thus they practically forget the aim of life. So here is being described a very difficult process of sacrifices and meditations that were done in previous ages that are nearly impossible to practice in this day of chaos, quarrel, and confusion in Kali Yuga. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, came to give us a process of yajna, of Sankirtan yajna, which is the most easy and fun and powerful sacrifice for this day and age. Because you can do all these other things and still fall down, but a person who has chanted even the name of Vishnu or Krishna one time can be liberated. This is also, so for the cultural knowledge, according to the Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 items in culturing knowledge. By such culture of knowledge, one becomes gradually prideless, devoid of vanity, non-violent, forbearing, simple, devoted to the great spiritual master, and self-controlled. By culture of knowledge, one becomes unattached to hearth and home and becomes conscious of the miseries due to death, birth, old age, and disease. All culture of knowledge culminates in devotional service to the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Therefore, Vasudeva is the ultimate aim in culturing all different branches of knowledge. Culture of knowledge leading one to the transcendental plane of meeting Vasudeva is real knowledge, Physical knowledge in its various branches is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita as a jnana, or the opposite of real knowledge. The ultimate aim of physical knowledge is to satisfy the senses, which means prolongation of the terms of material existence and thereby continuance of the threefold miseries. So the threefold miseries are those miseries that are enacted upon us by our mind, by natural disasters like heat and earthquakes and cold, and the miseries engaged upon us by other living entities. So prolonging the miserable life of material existence is nescience. Nescience, right? Darkness, untruth, nescience. So the purpose of just continuing to act on this sort of animalistic and materialistic level just continues to prolong our material existence in this life, which really doesn't serve our purpose of any way. So it's darkness to do that, even though we think it's great light to be a successful materialist. But the same physical knowledge leading the way to spiritual understanding helps one to end the miserable life of physical existence and to begin the life of spiritual existence on the plane of Vasudeva. So what's being stated here is that those either physical activities, sacrifices, or different sacrifices that are and rules and regulations are there to enact so that we can come to the spiritual understanding of Krishna, not to try to prolong our material existence or to increase our material benefits, which is this sort of religiosity, this age of religiosity. What's been doing religious performance is oftentimes used to prolong our material, to enhance our material existence. Same applies to all kinds of austerities. Now, so whether you're doing an austerity or tapas, if you're withdrawing things and to try to enjoy things more in the life, sometimes people engage in severe austerity so that they can enjoy in heaven, in the heavenly planets. Tapasya means voluntary acceptance of bodily planes to achieve some higher end of life. So we accept tapasya because the sacrifices that we have to make are naturally, they come. We don't seek them out, but we do accept certain amounts of tapasya. We don't eat anything we want to eat. If we're on a fasting day like Ekadasi, we restrain our eating propensities, and that's our austerity that we take on. But we're doing it for a higher end of life. We're doing it for a higher purpose for Krishna, to help us come closer to Krishna. Ravana and Hiranyakashipu underwent a severe type of bodily torture to achieve the end of sense gratification. Yeah, Hiranyakashipu was doing such a severe form of austerity. Both Ravana, Ravana, I think, was also standing on his toes or something for 10,000 years. Hiranyakashipu was so long in doing his sacrifices that an anthill grew up around his body, and the ants ate all the flesh off of his body. It was just bones. He was keeping his chi alive in his bones. And Lord Brahma came and was like, whoa, dude, you just, okay, stop. You don't need to do such severe austerities. I'll give you your boons. But yeah, so such severe austerities, but for such a piddling, even to be the ruler of the whole universe, like Hiranyakashipu or Ravana, to try to be this, defeat all the demigods, get their wealth, the women, whatever, it's all fleeting. They ended up getting killed by Krishna in the end. One should accept voluntarily bodily inconveniences for the sake of knowing Vasudeva, because that is the way of real austerity. So we accept our tapasya, not seeking it out, but we understand that in engaging in our service to our spiritual master and to Krishna, there will be certain kinds of austerities that come along with that. And we accept that. One should accept voluntarily bodily inconveniences for the sake of knowing Vasudeva, because that is the way of real austerities. Otherwise, all forms of austerities are classified as modes of passion and ignorance. So we can have austerities in modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Passion and ignorance cannot end the miseries of life. Only the mode of goodness can mitigate the threefold miseries of life. Vasudeva and Devaki, the so-called father and mother of Lord Krishna, underwent penances to get Vasudeva as their son. Lord Sri Krishna is the father of all living beings. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verse 4. I think that's what that is. Or maybe it's Bhagavatam, chapter 14. No, it doesn't have the canto. Therefore, he is the original living being of all other beings. He is original eternal enjoyer among all other enjoyers. Therefore, no one can be his begetting father, as the ignorant may think. Lord Sri Krishna agreed to become the son of Vasudeva and Devaki upon being pleased with their severe austerities. Therefore, if any austerities have to be done, they must be done to achieve the end of knowledge, Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. As explained before, the original personality of Godhead expands himself by innumerable forms. Such expansions of forms is made possible by his various energies. His energies are also multifarious, and his internal energies are superior and external energies inferior in quality. They are explained in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 4 through 6, as the para and the apara prakritis. So his expansions of various forms which take place via the internal energies are superior forms, whereas the expansions which take place via the external energies are inferior forms. So in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, there are the superior and inferior energies that are talked about, which include the inferior energies are earth, water, fire, air, and then subtly mind, intelligence, false ego, and of course the living entity, the jivama, is the superior energy because it is spiritual in nature, but it is marginal. So it is not the same as in quantity as the Paramama, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entities are also his expansions. The living entities who are expanded by his internal potency are eternally liberated persons, whereas those who are expanded in terms of the material energies are eternally conditioned souls. Therefore, all culture of knowledge, austerity, sacrifice, and activity should be aimed at changing the quality of the influence that is acting upon us. Because if we're marginal, we can either be under the influence of Maya Devi, the material energy, or we could be under the influence of Krishna, which is the superior spiritual energy. For the present, we are being controlled by the external energy of the Lord, and just to change the quality of the influence, we must endeavor to cultivate spiritual energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who are Mahatmas, or those whose minds have been so broadened as to be engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, are under the influence of the internal potency, and the effect is that such broad-minded living beings are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord without deviation. That should be the aim of life, and that is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. No one should bother himself with fruitive activities or dry speculation about transcendental knowledge. Everyone should at once engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, nor should one worship different demigods who work as different hands for the Lord for creation, maintenance, or destruction of the material world. There are innumerable powerful demigods who look over the external management of the material world, and we don't worship the demigods, but we do offer our respectful obeisances to these demigods as great devotees of Krishna. They are also different existing hands of Lord Vasudeva. Even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are included in the list of demigods, but Lord Vishnu or Vasudeva is always transcendently situated. Even though he accepts the quality of goodness in the material world, he is still transcendental to all the material modes. The following examples will clear that matter more explicitly In the prison house, there are always the prisoners and the managers of the prison house. Both the managers and the prisoners are bound by the laws of the king. But even though the king sometimes comes to the prison, he is not bound by the laws of the prison house. The king is therefore always transcendental to the laws of the prison house, as the Lord is always transcendental to the laws of the material world. So we're coming to the end of this chapter, and we'll finish this next time. Thank you very much. Namaste.